Hi everyone, I am Riccardo Zavatta, Senior Account Manager at Namex, the Rome Internet Exchange. First of all, welcome to the first ANIX meeting that will be entirely virtual due to COVID. ANIX is the first and only neutral Internet exchange in Albania, hosted in the RAS data center in Tirana and managed by Namex, the Internet Exchange of Rome. I'll be the focal point for all of you who want to be connected to ANIX, to have the chance to exchange traffic directly to the national and international operators already connected in the Tirana exchange, reducing latency and avoiding the need of many scattered direct interconnection. You can reach me by writing to join@anix.al. A couple of housekeeping notes before we start. Please keep your microphone off. Remember that towards the end of the presentation, there will be a question and answer session, and you can participate either by raising your virtual hand or by writing question in the chat. This event, while being organized by Namex, would not have been possible without the support of our sponsor, DHH, FlexOptic, and ISOC. Not only we thank them for their active support, but we remind you that you will be able to meet with them as well as the other participants on the meeting module platform that will be active this afternoon until 10 p.m. and tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. all day. You have received your access credential once you have registered to this event. Please make sure to log in, set up your profile, and most of all, schedule the meeting. It's a great opportunity to speak to the right people, to grow your business within or outside of ANIX, and you can start booking even now. Today's agenda is very rich, and we'll have a first part with Rush, Namex, and ANIX, giving an overview on the ISP, followed by a short 5 minutes coffee break. And a second part with a very interesting presentation from our Albanian and international guests. Now, let me introduce our speaker for the first part of the event. For a last minute problem, Arjan Gelai cannot be present at our virtual meeting. He apologizes for this inconvenience and sends greetings to all of us. The first speaker is Daniele Arena, that is the Namex project manager who has contributed the most to the development of ANIX. Then Flavio Luciani, that is the Namex CTO, who handles all the technical aspects related to this project, and that will give us some information about the practical benefits of an IXP. The last is Maurizio Goretti, the General Director of Namex, who will present to us ServiceDB, the B2B platform initially developed by Namex and now open to the whole telecommunications community. Now, I'm going to give the floor to Daniele, and so we can start the meeting officially.
Okay, thank you, Riccardo. Allow me to share the screen if everything works, hopefully. Just a second. Share. Oops. No, this is, I'm already at the end. Sorry. So you, spoiler alert. Okay. So, hello everyone, and thank you, Riccardo, for giving me the floor. My name is Daniele Arena. A lot of you know me, some of you don't. I'm project manager in charge of ANIX for the Namex Internet Exchange Point. So since we're at the ANIX meeting, I think it's only fair that we start with an update on ANIX. So I assume that most of you know what ANIX is. It's the Albanian Neutral Internet Exchange, but maybe not all of you are familiar with the history. So I'll take you very quickly through the last 3 years. So Annex was born in 2018, and the beginning was very much a bottom-up initiative. So we had the first 3 networks peering at Annex about the second quarter of 2018, and those were Appcom, currently Vodafone, ATU, and Rash. Everything was based, and actually still is based, on volunteer effort. Namex donated the switch, the peering switch. Rash provided and still provides the colocation. And there were several Albanian volunteers and ISPs who donated the routers, the servers, and brought the fibers to get to the exchange. As you see from the graph, the traffic was not a lot, apart from the occasional peaks, which were probably misconfigurations, to be honest. We had 50 to 100 megabits of peak in the initial part of the story of Annex. But this changed a lot over the years because Annex grew from 0 to 15 members in 3 years. We have now 12 Albanian networks at Annex and also 3 international players. And the traffic has grown to a peak of 3 gigabits per second. So what's the current, from the history to what's the current status of Annex? Annex now is powered by Namex. And what does that mean? It means that after talks with the ISPs, it came out that the best way to go forward would be to have Namex managing all the aspects of the internet exchange. The infrastructure is still housed at Rash, at Rash, which is the Albanian academic network, which has a neutral data center in Tirana. And the hardware actually is not so different from what we started with. So we still have a Cisco switch donated by Namex. We have a Nexus switch, which was donated by PCH, but we still have the router and the servers that we started with. So the infrastructure is in need of an upgrade, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. So just in the last year, we had 8 new members. So the first large OTT, which is Facebook, an international carrier, Hurricane Electric, which is not live yet, but hopefully will be in the next few months, and 6 local players, content and access providers. You can see the list of all members in this slide. Abysnet, Vodafone, Facebook, ATU, Starnet, Tring, PCH, Rash, Hurricane Electric, Tibo, NextTV, Mobitel, Cellcom, ISA.net, and MCN. Looking forward to not having the time to read them all, hopefully next year. So as I was saying, we have some technical upgrades planned. First of all, we are going to replace our interconnection platform. We have NVIDIA hardware supporting VXLAN EVPN and 100 gigabit ports. So that's really in the works right now. Basically, we're preparing everything in Rome before packing all the boxes and shipping them to Tirana. But apart from the interconnection platform, there's also new servers coming. So those will support all Annex services, and in particular, the route servers, which will be RPKI ready and provide RTBH, and a new customer portal. And last but not least, we are procuring a new transit connection, both for our services and for the Facebook cache. And this deserves some additional details, because since Facebook joined Annex, we had tremendous success because several ISPs started peering with Facebook. And the traffic really increased beyond what we expected at the beginning. So this means that the transit we had dedicated to the Facebook cache is currently not enough. We cannot satisfy the demands of all ISPs who want to exchange traffic with Facebook. So we're sorry for that, but basically the good news is that we are victims of our own success. This issue is going to be fixed with the new transit, which is going to be more than enough to feed the Annex Facebook cache. but unfortunately, there's still a couple of months to wait before the new transit becomes operational. So I hope that all ISPs involved will be patient for a little while before, until we have the new transit ready. A word on our services. As I said, so far, ANIX has been based on a volunteer effort. So no one has paid anything yet. Namex, it's still true today that ANIX is powered by Namex. And because we as Namex, we are investing in the ANIX initiative together with our collaborators and our sponsors, because we believe it makes sense and that it helps the internet community in Albania. So we are working to add even more value to the IXP, and we want to bring in more local and international players. But as the Facebook example shows, at some point we will need some fees so that we will be able to make the exchange work in a sustainable way. As for services, apart from the standard peering, we will have private interconnect, both physical and virtual private interconnect. So you will be able to set up a direct interconnection to any other participant in the IX. And I know that the question on everyone's mind, and several people have asked already, is when is that going to happen and how much will the services cost? The answer is we haven't decided for sure yet. The plan is to introduce fees in early 2022, so early next year. We haven't set any fees yet, but we will communicate them at least 3 months in advance. And we're also thinking of introducing discounts, for example, an initial period free of charge for new members, since current members are enjoying right now a free of charge period. And as the last slide, but not the least important, we are committed to developing the Albanian networking community, and we hope that this meeting is proof of that. And I take this opportunity, as Ricardo said, to remind you to book your one-to-one meetings with Meeting Mojo. So maybe not all of you are familiar with this, but Meeting Mojo is a platform that makes it easy for you to set up meetings with other attendees of this event. When you registered, you should have received a couple of emails with the instructions on how to log into the platform. On the platform, you can browse the attendees of the meetings and see if there's anyone you'd like to meet and request a meeting directly through the platform. There's a video and everything. It's pretty easy. So I encourage all of you to try this. And it's not going to be active just today, but also tomorrow, as Ricardo said, until the evening. So thank you. Please enjoy the rest of the meeting, and you can write to me if you have any questions at all.
Thank you, Daniele, for your presentation and for your update to ANIX. And thanks again to our sponsor, DHH, FlexOptic, and Internet Society. And now we have Flavio Luciani with his presentation.
Hello, can you see my slide?
Yes, yes.
Okay, hello everyone. And first of all, thanks for coming. It is a great pleasure to be here today, all together. My name is Flavio Luciani, and I am, as Ricardo said, I am the Chief Technology Officer of Namex. Namex is the Rome Internet Exchange Point. In this short presentation, I'm going to talk about the practical benefit of an internet exchange point in general and how an IXP represents a great value inside a country. Let me now, yes, I I would now like to take a step back, even if these first concepts, which I will talk about, are known to most. So what we call the internet is actually an interconnection of autonomous and independent networks that we call autonomous systems. And probably we all know that each one using an autonomous system number to be identified in the internet uniquely. Autonomous systems need to establish relationship with other autonomous systems in order to share the resources in the ecosystem. If we want to simplifying the model, on one hand, we have access providers, and access providers need to reach the content actually and users. And on the other hand, the content needs to be distributed in order to be shared on the internet. Routers use the protocol BGP to exchange reachability information and to build a routing table. In this way, routers can pick the best route when they send a packet, typically based on the shortest path. What I'm saying is that relationships and interconnections are an essential element in the functioning of the internet. But where do interconnection happen? Typically, the natural and neutral place is represented by internet exchange point. IXPs are places where network operators can share their resources, meaning interconnecting their networks and exchanging their own traffic. They are, in sort of way, large communities of network operators. And over the years, the membership has gradually diversified. In the IXP's ecosystem, there are national and international carriers, as well as the largest content delivery networks, content providers, and local internet service providers. In addition, we can find inside this ecosystem anti-DDoS services and research networks. Among others, the main service provided by IXPs is the physical interconnection infrastructure, a platform where members might establish relationships, especially peering ones. A question one might ask is, why do we need peering? Before talking about peering and its benefits, let me first share with you what the challenges and the mission of an IXP in a country are. First of all, the main challenge is to get the content delivery networks and international carriers to establish a presence at the IXP in order to satisfy the needs of local internet service providers. This makes content closer to end users, and this creates many more interconnection opportunities, international transit, and other services available for local internet service providers. How? At least, I can say, at least at the early stage, critical mass of local ISPs and traffic volumes are the key factors in engaging the content and international carriers as well. At the end, there are different goals that an IXP typically achieved. IXPs provide incentives and opportunities for local ISPs, and local ISPs might invest in their own physical infrastructure in order to reach the neutral place, the internet exchange point. Local ISPs, we know, tend to be at the bottom of the internet hierarchy. By controlling their own infrastructure, they may compete at higher levels in the internet value chain, and transit requirement is reduced and peering value drastically increased at a lower cost. Peering creates value, as I said, but what are its benefits and why do we need peering? I try to answer these two questions. First of all, keep local traffic local. That means latencies reduction and performance are improved. Second, security. Peering contributes to make the internet a safer place because of a greater control of traffic flows. And third, resilience. Peering acts as a backup for transit disruption, which increases reliability and capacity availability. Okay, let me go inside some examples. Here you can look at two different sport events, two football matches in the Italian Serie A Championship. The circles marked in red represent peaks of traffic of the football matches detected on Namex peering platform, the Rome Internet Exchange Point. The football matches have been distributed by a known and large content delivery network. So local traffic remain local. I mean, inside the country, and in the first example, very locally, considering that Lazio is a Rome football club and most of the fans live in town and nearby. When content is close, ISPs might experience latencies reduction and performance improvement, which are two of the positive effects on keeping the traffic local, especially if you think for all those interactive applications and streaming services. Traffic peaks related to short events involve a huge number of users. I mean, live events, generally sports events, as I have shown in the previous slide, and also release of new software packages, either games or software updates. Here, there is another good example of local traffic local, an update of Call of Duty some days ago, April 22nd, distributed by a large content delivery network present at Namex. Both large Italian carriers as well as medium, small size internet service providers could benefit thanks to direct peering through the IXP, the Namex IXP platform. Still, even though the main activity of an internet exchange point is to manage, upgrade, and maintain the technological infrastructure that allows the exchange of information between members, the greatest help they provide is to help the small and medium local ISPs extend their networks to reach the data center where the IXP is located, and most attract as many of the content providers as possible in order to allow local distribution of traffic, Call of Duty update is another good example still of how local traffic remain local. Let me talk about another important aspect of keep local traffic local, the security aspect. In order to reach a given destination, traffic flows of a given operator might transit through other operators in different countries or sometimes even different continents, whereas establishing peering relationships at an IXP enhances the security and privacy of data transiting between the operators, as they have a direct control of the networks over which it is transmitted. This way, there is a much lower risk that traffic could be intercepted and analyzed, and we know most of the time for not very ethical reasons. This security aspect is particularly important if you think, for example, about critical services such as public administration or banking. So keeping local traffic local and keeping services as close as possible to their users contributes to making the internet a more secure ecosystem. We all know what happened at the beginning of March 2020, last year, the health emergency that in the world in some way also changed the world. The sudden increase in internet traffic subjected network operators to a difficult challenge to continue to ensure the reliability of the service that people were used to. How? By improving the resilience of their own infrastructures. The graph above, here you can see two different graphs. The first one, the graph above, shows a daily distribution, actually a morning distribution of distance learning lessons delivered through a video conference platform of a well-known content provider present at Namex. Through the peering platform, not only performance are improved, as I said before, but also the availability of this important service, especially today, is guaranteed if there was a fault on transit routes. So resilience is another great value for peering. Peering allows ISPs to increase the number of possible paths, to improve overall bandwidth, and sometimes it acts as a backup for transit disruption. So internet is an essential service today more than ever, and IXPs have to make the internet more efficient, fast, and secure. And that's all. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you too, Flavio. And for all our guests, remember to log in to Meeting Mojo again and to book your meeting. And for this meeting, we have decided to create a couple of polls, which will shortly appears on your screen. You will have a minute or so to answer. Then we will close the poll, show you the result, and go on with the last presentation. The first poll is, which is the next CDN or OTT you would like to see at Anix? You can choose among Google, Akamai, Cloudflare, Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, and Amazon. We know that is a difficult choice because we left you only one answer, but it's on purpose, so you really choose the one you prefer to have in the Albanian Neutral Internet Exchange. Okay. And thanks again to our sponsor that permit to us to have this meeting, and particularly to have the Meeting Mojo platform for the one-to-one meetings. Thanks again to Flexopic, the DHH, and ISOC. Okay. The 67% already voted. Okay. We leave other second, and then we will stop the poll. Okay. In 5 seconds, I will stop, and we can see the result. The first is Google with 30% of preferences, followed by Akamai with 21% and Cloudflare with 15%. Okay, thank you to all for your vote. Okay. Okay, and thank you. And now I pass the speech to our director, Maurizio Goretti.
Thank you, Riccardo, and welcome to everybody. Thank you to be here again. Thank you to our sponsor again, DHH, Flexoptic, and ISOC. My name is Maurizio Goretti. I am the Namex CEO. As maybe you know, Namex is a member-based exchange point located in Rome and not-for-profit. We have been playing this role since 1995, and this moment Namex has roughly 160 members. Today, I'm going to talk about ServiceDB, a neutral exchange, a neutral wholesale portal tool dedicated to ISP offers. Sorry. Oh, first of all, why we create a portal for the wholesale services? In our opinion, an inter-exchange point, especially a member-based not-for-profit exchange point, as Namex is, it's not only about peering. A member-based exchange point has to try to be useful, first of all, to its member. For example, we try to be useful organizing meeting, like the Anix meeting, but we have this very popular in Italy meeting that we held every June, where we try to put together all the members, all the ASP members, and we try to allow them, to force them to create an environment that facilitates the discussion between members. Our next meeting will be next June the 9th. And if you want to participate, you are welcome. It will be a virtual meeting, unfortunately. And we hope that you will participate to the meeting. Another things that we do, we organize training course for our member. I don't know in other country, but in Italy, it's not so straightforward to find good quality classes that train ISP technician, especially in particular argument as BGP, MPLS, or other argument that are common in the internet service providers. As I say, this is high quality courses, 3-day courses with final certification, and is because it's free. This, as you can imagine, is very popular between our members. Before the world changed, we also organize itinerant events through Italy in collaboration with the ITNOG community and with the other internet exchange point to meet the internet service provider in their regions. So we try to think what else we could do of useful for our members, and we realize that Namex has always been a reference point for the internet service provider that look for a service in our city. I remember that Namex is based in Rome. This is true for local Italian internet service provider that arrive into the big town without experience of a big market and ask us for a good advice about who sell that service and who is the best in terms of prices, quality, or both. But this is also true for the big international player that know the service very well, but didn't help to understand how the things work in our country. Taking into account that as shown in this table that we took from this Hurricane Electric very popular site, some international internet service provider are nowadays present in dozen different internet exchange point located in dozen different countries. A local help is really useful for them. This gives to the internet exchange point, especially the member-based, and a rule in the ISP's community. People prefer to ask the internet exchange point because they are trusted and they are neutral. For this reason, about 1.5 years ago, we create our portal that we called Neutral Namex Marketplace. And that was about the wholesale services that an internet service provider sells to the other internet service providers. It was really straightforward because it was data center based. So the provider lists their wholesale catalog in which they show which services they was able to provide in a particular data center through an interconnection. So we did it very in the simplest way as we can imagine, very easy to fill the information from the internet service provider and very straightforward. From the really beginning, we understand that was really useful. To be really useful to our member, we have to put not just the data center that we have in Rome, but we decided to include all the Italian data center, even if we were conscious that in this way we might be not to benefit direct Namex, but maybe other internet service provider or other exchanges. But we think that we are in community. So, and first of all, we think that if we do something, we have to be, first of all, useful. In fact, this was a relative success because 1/3 of our members started to use the portal. And then we received some interest from other internet exchange points. So we decided to change the portal and to move it from a local marketplace dedicated just to Namex to a more general portal dedicated to the whole Italian community. And we move from Namex wholesale marketplace to a portal that we rename in ServiceDB. You can reach it to servicedb.net, and you can access for free the portal, or just asking for a local account, or if you already have your PeeringDB account, you can access the portal through your existing PeeringDB account. The portal allow the internet service provider that are part of Namex to show their catalog to the portal. And but the portal is available to anybody else for free. You just have to give us your email just to make some communication and marketing, and to try to understand if the portal is success or not. On the left bar, you can have the possibility to look for a service. You can choose by service, kind of service. You can choose by CD, or you can choose by data center. As I said, we put into the database at the very beginning all the Italian data center that we found in PeeringDB, thinking that that was the most popular and important data center in Italy. On the right part, you can, as you select what you are looking for, then you have the result on the left part. You can select one of the providers, and then you have the general information about the providers. And most important, you have the right contact to contact, in fact, or you have the possibility to use a pre-filled form to ask for more, to be contacted, and to ask for more information. There is also the opportunity to, there is a section that is dedicated to the special offer of the internet service provider that try to attract the other internet service provider with some special offering in some periods of the year. Everything is managed by a backend portal. The Internet Exchange Point create account for their internet service provider members that from that time are able to manage from their own information. For example, they can have this dashboard where they have the general information. They can notice if somebody visited their pages. They can change the general information about the provider. And most important, they can put the information about the service that they are able to provide in a particular data center, choosing very simple to a list of the data center and clicking to the list of services that they are able to provide. So because we received some interest from other internet exchange points, we create in collaboration with other exchange points an IXP federation, and we extend this first of all to another Italian exchange point, that is Topics, that is the Italian exchange point based in Turin. Then to Visix, that is the Veneto Internet Exchange Point that is based in Padua, close to Venice. And then we we are collaborating with an Internet Exchange Point in Nigeria, and others are coming. And then from today, we started to have a section dedicated to ANIX, the Albanian Neutral Exchange Point. So from today, it is possible entering the portal to choose, first of all, the country. And in this moment, there are Italy and Albania. We just put few information up to now, because I just add information about one data center, that is the Rush data center, and one internet service provider, that is Rush the National Research Network, but we need your collaboration to create an Albanian wholesale internet service provider service database. So from today, there is the opportunity to fill this database, and we think that this is an opportunity for the Albania internet service provider, because it provides you the possibility to show your service to national and international markets, and to provide, to look for services local or abroad. All Annex internet service provider can present their catalog for free in ServiceDB. So we need you, and to create this Albanian wholesale database. And we can do that. You can do that to fill the information about your providers. We will contact you to do that, asking to do that. But if you want to contact us, please drop an email to servicedb@annex.il, or dropping an email. This is my contact, or make me a call. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, Maurizio, for your presentation. So this is the end of the first part of the meeting. We will leave now a few minutes for a coffee break, but while you have your coffee, we have a second poll for you. We will leave it open for the whole coffee break, so you can think about it a bit. Only one moment. Okay. The second poll is related to some statement. You have to decide for each statement if you agree or disagree. If you agree the statement, you have to click on it. If no, just leave it unclicked. Obviously, you can click one or more statement you prefer. And okay, now we can have our coffee break. See you in 5 minutes. Please don't be late. Thank you very much.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Luca Davoli, Membership Development and Marketing at Namex. Together with Riccardo, I'll be the focal point for the international carriers, CDNs, OTTs mainly, but also for all of you who want to be connected, Annex. Once again, like with Riccardo, you can reach me by writing to join@namex.al. Let's end the poll. Curiously enough, I see that we have, it seems, less voters than for the first poll. So many of you must have gone for a sip of water or some coffee. Do you agree with the following statements? Multiple choice. It seems to me that the most voted is IP transit price in Albania is too high. Very close second, there should be more neutral data centers in the country, and lagging a bit behind, but still with a good number of responses, about a third, fiber infrastructure in Tirana is well developed. So we'll see if the speakers of the second half will make some comments on the results of this poll. Okay, so a couple of housekeeping reminders again before we start the second half, reminding you of keeping your Microsoft muted, and that if you want to make any questions, you can use the chat, and we'll try to have a Q&A to respond at the end of the event. You can also voice your question if you will raise your hand during the Q&A time. Again, as Daniele has written in the chat, it would be helpful for all of the others if you could add your name and you show your full name and you add the company to your Zoom name. You go to the participant list, and on your own name you find the more drop down and rename, and you can do that there. As reminded by the speakers in the first half, this event has been organized by Namex, but it would not have been possible without the support of the sponsors DHH, Flex Optics, and ISOC, whom we thank. Not only do we thank them, but we remind you that you will be able to meet with them as well as the other participants using the Meeting Mojo platform that will be active from the end of the meeting to 10 p.m. tonight and from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. basically all day tomorrow. You should have received your access credentials. We can support you if you have not. If you can write a help message to meeting@namex.it, we'll try to sort your issues. So today's agenda is very rich. So I think we should start the second part. We have presentations from Starnet, NSC, DHH, Facebook, and Hurricane Electric. Let me introduce you the first speaker of the second part, Dritan Vreshta of Starnet. Dritan.
Hello, everybody. Hope you hear me.
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to share my screen. Okay, share. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
We also see your screen. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll try to keep it short because actually my presentation is with very few slides and give time to everyone to make the presentation on its own time and explain, give options as well for question and answer. My presentation will be based on some statistics that I have collected during the 2020. Those statistics have been based on the official information that ISPs are reporting to the authority of here called ACEP. And some statistics taken from database, intelligence database of Ookla that we all refer to speed test website. So for those that don't know me, my name is Dritan. I am for 15 years in the business of telecommunication. With Starnet, we have started from 2014, offering services in a rural and underserved area. Purpose of this presentation, as I mentioned above, is to show you some official statistics projected in the context that we are speaking. And by the end of this presentation, I will give my modest input and comments. Okay. So where does this idea started? About 1 year ago, when all of us unexpectedly entered in the COVID situation, ISPs was one of the main infrastructure to give the response for that strange situation. So everybody was locked down at home and everybody was looking at the internet as a survival media for communication, schooling, and many other stuff. Back in the time, I have made a presentation based on the statistics of the last 3 months, February, March, and April, when some of the main ISPs was measured by Ookla Intelligence, as I mentioned before, speed test, about latency, download, and upload speeds. What triggered my attention at the time was that some articles in the technology magazines in Germany was pointed that Albania was one of the countries with a major drop down on the speed and internet performance. So I studied the parameters in the time, and yes, it was true. Some ISPs had really decreased on major 3 parameters of service, internet service, namely latency, download, and upload. In this context, I thought, okay, let's see what we have done during 2020, how the ISP market and internet market in general have performed. So I try to collect data from ACEP. You have the link here in the bottom of this slide, so you can refer after the presentation to this link and analyze the data for yourself. But what I have done, I have put in the graph the major data. So for the year 2020, the total number of subscribers as reported by ACAPE database is 497,126. And based on the same report, those are shared among those major operators, including the last operator that actually is a total of other operators not named here. So as you can see, ACAPE is referring to 6 major operators: Altelecom, Upcom, ASC or Tring, Abisnet, Digicom, Nisatel, and all the rest. The numbers are referring here. So Altelecom have declared by the end of 2020 this number of subscribers, 128,877, and so on and so forth. This graph is important because right now the number of subscribers in Albania reported is this one. It's important to know how those numbers have increased between 2019 and 2020. Why? Because it was an impression that during 2020, the number of subscribers have been increased tremendously. Actually, if you see, we have a much more increase during 2019 than 2020. And this makes sense because during 2020, the sensitivity for getting internet at home was much more, but just because the lockdown, it was very difficult to work, or let's say 2 or 3 months was almost impossible. So most of the ISPs have been focused on maintaining their network and some new installation. But as you can see, the increase have been not that much, 77% less. So one graphic that I thought it would be interesting for all of us is that how this increase have been attributed to the big 6 ISPs and all the other operators. So if you see, Altelecom have a decrease of during 2020, at least based on the database of ACAPE, as you can see here, referring to this one. Upcom, that now is Vodafone, have an increase of 27.9%. Tring have an increase of 10.9%. Abisnet have an increase of 1.78%. Digicom have an increase of 21%. Nisatel have an increase almost the same like the one of Upcom, but the one with the most increase are the other operators. So the other operators have been increased during 2020 with about 30%. This made me stop here, and actually I thought that some analysis could be here. For example, the big 6 ISPs, if you go back here and name them, are almost operating in the same market that we consider here developed market. So why some ISPs are growing and some not? We should make some analysis here. Is a better price? Is a better service? Okay, prices almost in the developed markets are somehow standardized. Do we have market congestion for some ISPs, or what's the situation? Are the ISPs that are increased have a technology advantage? For example, based on the marketing marketing fabula, some of the ISPs are promoting more advanced technology. Are the customers attracted by the most advanced technology? Of course, I have my answer for myself, but those are good questions that we all of us make ourselves to understand a little bit the market. Considering that the other operators have been increased with 30% in total, why is this increase? Is better interaction with the subscriber, considering that some of those operators are small. Are those operators more flexible, so they have responded better during 2020? Just because those operators are more small, are they as well more dynamic in policy efficiency, something that customers sometimes complain? Is competition factor, so maybe those other operators are working in markets that are less competitive? Those inputs are something that we should consider as well to come in a conclusion, but I thought that it would be a good line of thought. Another parameter that we in Albania consider is the number of ISPs. In Albania, we have a very big number of operators that are registered as ISP at ACEP. Right now, if you download the database of ACEP, you can see at least 300 companies registered as authorized operator for internet services. And if you can see below, there is a graph how many of them have been during every year. So let's say the number have come increasing after 2018. So let's say this is the situation right now. Why we have so many ISPs, I don't know, but seems like everybody is doing their job in the market. I believe with the market size that we have, as you saw before, and taking into consideration that the big 6 operators are taking very huge market size, I believe that the rest of the ISP numbers are not having that many customers, but still they seem to be happy as long as they are in the market. Another parameter that I thought it will be interesting is that to see when this idea of being an ISP operator in Albania have been considered as a good idea. And as you can see, we always have had a lot of ISPs. So let's say in 2017, we still have 169 ISPs. But if you can see, in 2019, there have been registered 53 new ISPs. This seems to be, and maybe I'm making a joke here, but this seems to be that they might have noticed that a big demand will come in 2020. And actually this big demand have been reflected, as you have seen in 2019. But I believe that this have a positive point as well, because maybe because of this number of big ISPs, we have been able to respond to the huge demand of connectivity during the pandemic time 2020. It's interesting to see that we are not stopping. Only in the 3 months of 2023, we have been increased by 13 new ISPs. Okay, this is for the ISPs and the parameters. I took some analysis from the Ookla database in regards to the general speed test that we are reporting there. As you may know, speed test is announcing every month a global index where every country each country can see which are the speeds, average speeds that they are making based on the servers of speed test. As you can see, in April 2020, we have a decrease of the graphic. So in April 2020, the average speed declared by Albania ISPs in total have been 28.4 megabps in download. So the global index is only measuring the download speed, while the global index in average for the world have been 74.74 megabps. So we have been in the level of 37.99% of this parameter. If we take the same parameter in February, we see that we have increased very much. So this should be a bravo for all ISPs in Albania. So within 1 year, we have been able to provide customers with much higher speeds in average. Again, This is based on database of Ookla. You can refer here, global index. And of course, the global index in general have been increased, but we are doing better. So we have been performed better. So we are approaching the highest standard in regards to speed. Another graph.
Dritan, speaking
yes.
of speed,
it's in Daul. Yes, sorry.
If you're heading towards the conclusion, because
one slide more.
Okay, good.
Sorry. So another parameter reported to the global index as well is the ranking. There are two rankings for the mobile and broadband. I'm being focused only in broadband. The best index we have had last year have been the index during the August 2020, when we've been ranked 80. Right now we are ranking in 86. So we have to be improved in a global ranking. So as a conclusion, there is a space for growth because we see that we still are growing by 20–30% every year. There is more space for improvement, taking into consideration the global ranking. Underserved areas still not fully reached by the 6 big operators. So that's explained that the other operators are doing very good growth there. And of course, in my perception, market regulation is needed in both technical and legislation standard. That's from me, from my side. These slides will be available for everyone that will be interested.
Thank you, Dritan. I think there's very interesting information and ideas in your presentation. I'm sure this will generate questions for the Q&A session. So let's go now to our next speaker, Mirditor Kuchai. I hope Kuchai. I hope I read your names correctly. With protection from DDoS and redundancy for DNS resolvers. So Mirditor, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mirditor, and I own a company for consulting ISPs. And my presentation is about DNS. That's why, because here in Albania, I've seen too many ISPs with DDoS attacks suffering in the DNS resolvers. So here is a tweak for protecting them and making them redundant. So DNSs are always services that should be public and reachable from every site of the ISP or public one. There are two main services used in the ISPs. They are authoritative and recursive as a resolver that we network engineers use the name. For ISPs, the most sensitive one is the resolver services, because all the subscribers of the ISP is using that service for their consume for daily usage. So if a ISP goes under attack, in most cases are the DNS IP addresses, because they are too easy to find. You can find the name servers in RAID database or tracing the domain name backwards, or just hacking some CPE, and you can see the DNS resolvers there for which one uses the ISP. So CPE are always with security issues, so they are easy to find. So we have some. I have some ideas, or everyone does this for standard. We should split the servers, name servers with the resolvers. So name servers should be standalone servers, and resolvers something else, dedicated servers for those. Because of resolvers are the most sensitive, they should not be public or easy to find somehow. They must be reachable only internal network of the ISP. So we can use the IP network for using for separating them. For example, resolver A and resolver B, which should be in different subnets, subnet X, subnet epsilon, or something. Name server A and server B should be very in different subnets because of reaching them. If something happens with one subnet, the other one is online in different provider or something else. So with BGP or OSPF or Internet Gateway Protocol AGP Insider, we can make a different network for them. So in most cases, DNS services are built in BIND or Power DNS, which are mostly installed in Linux OS. Linux offers some software, which is Quagga and Fairer routing, and those are too much powerful for supporting BGP or something else we need in our ISP. So by default, for example, CentOS 8, it has FRR routing. A good way of using network for DNS is using loopbacks. So if an ISP has two main IPs for their network, like A or B, they should be used in interface loopbacks installed there. And with the Internet Gateway Protocol with IGP, you should advertise them in the network. You could use OSPF or BGP or something you prefer, but always distribute them with the routing protocol. So here is an example I used with BGP with FRR routing installed in a CentOS server. So here I used interface loopback, distributed them in BGP, and redistributed them with route map using priority with using priority for making attributes which server will be preferred in the network. So in the server, it will be this scheme, loopbacks installed there, and the network will be the one who will handle the traffic in outgoing. For redundancy, because we have dual server setup or more server setups, we can advertise the net loopbacks for those IP we installed in the loopbacks more than one time. And we can have like two servers, and both servers will have each IP advertised, and with attributes we configured there, we can make which is preferred in the network. So installed there in that server, we can install cron jobs or scripts developed inside to check the DNS. If something happens to the service will be down with the routing job too. So the server goes on offline, and the other server that is online will handle the traffic because of the routing of IP. In case of DDoS, with this scheme of the network using this setup, we have a easy job to protect the DNS from attacks. So if a server is under attack, our inside the anti-DDoS server will black hole that IP. But if that IP will be black holed, the customers will go offline with their services. So in that case, we will tweak the BGP table or the PIB table. That one will not install the root here in the router. So if the anti-DDoS server will advertise the IP for the black hole, will not be installed inside it, everything will work. So the IP will be reachable, but in the global network will be unreachable. Because of the way we used the network to go outside with the network, the DNS is reachable yet for forwarding traffic for the solvers. So because it's using the PTP point-to-point protocol with uplink. What's sharp?
Yes, sharp. Thank you. To be honest,
this is way short. This is just an idea because I have seen too much ISPs suffering from DDoS attacks in their name servers and in their solvers. So those attacks, all the ISPs were going down for this easy trick you can do, and without any extra cost doing that tweak in the network of ISP. So I have seen too much ISP, so this is the way you can handle the attack, or the way you can make the servers redundant for the services there. So everything will be running if in case of any issues like server down or something, or attacks are in.
Well, we are recording this session, so other people might refer to this specific section to help the 300 plus Albanian ISPs to check for your presentation.
Okay.
Thank you again, Mirditor. I think we should move on to the next speaker, Matija Jekovic of DHH with the small market paradox. I hope, again, I have pronounced your name correctly. Otherwise, feel free to correct me.
No problem. I mean, I can't share my screen.
Yes, Mirditor, probably you need to release. Thank you. And now you should be able, Matija.
Okay.
Yes.
I hope, yeah, you see my screen.
We hear you and we see the presentation.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luca. Okay, so first of all, my name is Matija Jekovic. I'm the co-founder and chief operations officer in DHH. Just briefly, DHH is a cloud computing provider. Actually, it's a conglomerate of companies that is present in Southeastern Europe. And the conglomerate means that after we, let's say, acquire a company in a new market, we keep the company autonomous. Why is this important? This is important and relevant to my presentation because we have an unique insight into the market and into the company because, let's say, we're not messing around in the company and we see how the company interacts with the market and with the community in that specific country. So in the Balkan area, we're present in Slovenia, Croatia, and Serbia. And let's say I myself am from Slovenia. So I have a pretty good idea what was happening in the past in Slovenia and what is currently going on. So today I would actually like to talk about something that I call a small market paradox. What do I mean by this? First of all, let's say, show you some statistics. The first part is pretty generic, and we're talking about Eurostat statistics about use of internet. So we can all see that the use of internet in Europe is pretty high. Of course, it's higher in the Western Europe, but it's also pretty high in the Eastern Europe, and it's actually growing, especially in the last few years. So what we can say here is that, let's say, the consumption of content that is produced is pretty high in the whole, let's say, Europe. If we look on the, let's say, production of content side, and if we use, let's say, enterprise use adoption of cloud computing, we can see that also this is maybe not high at the moment, but we can see enormous increase, not just in countries like Italy, but also in the countries of the Balkans, like we can see here Slovenia, Croatia, and also non-EU members like Serbia, North Macedonia, and Montenegro. Maybe not a substantial increase, or let's say maybe not such an increase as in Western Europe, but still quite a high increase. So we can see here that, let's say, the digitization of economy and also society is let's say, a good platform for what will come next. Now, if we go to a let's say, smaller market, and I'll take, for example, Slovenia here because I know it the best. We can see that in Slovenia, we have, if we take, let's say, top 10 most visited sites, these are not sites that are hosted with us, but let's say we have a company that is doing statistics on the top sites in Slovenia. But we can see that, let's say, the amount of traffic and also the visitors coming to these sites is increasing year over year. What we do have is some internal statistics in our, let's say, Slovenian company that shows us that the number of hosted domains, so let's say the websites, the e-commerce sites, and so on that are actually hosted in Slovenia is growing, and also the .si domain, which is the ccTLD for Slovenia, is also growing. So, I mean, what is all of this, let's say, telling us? I think that not only the global production and consumption of content is growing, but also the local production and consumption of content is growing. I mean, how can I be sure of this? I can't be completely sure, but if you look at Slovenia, for example, but it's completely the same for all the ex-Yugoslavia, also for Bulgaria, Romania, Albania. In Slovenia, there are 2 million people that actually speak Slovenian. We have a small expat community, but it's negligible in the sense all of the people are actually located in Slovenia. So if we look at this growth of content production and consumption, we can safely say that there is a lot of content that is actually produced and consumed locally. But okay, why is this important? Why is it important that this content is locally produced and locally consumed? It's important because the question is, do we have the infrastructure to actually support this? This is the main question. And now we come to a chicken and egg problem. If we look at Slovenia and also Croatia and Serbia in the past, the main driver behind, let's say, the services was price. So people were not able or not willing to pay a lot for the services. This is completely normal, but what they got was low quality service. They got high latency service, they got unreliable service, they got, let's say, not highly experienced technician service, and they could live with this. So this was not a problem. They were not, let's say, able or willing to pay more. But the consequence of this was that the service providers were unable to invest into infrastructure. They were unable to invest into network, into computing power, into better service. And there was this cycle. So there was a chicken and egg problem, because in order to invest, they needed more money. In order to get more money, they needed, let's say, more users, more expensive services. And this was, let's say, a cycle that was going on in Slovenia and also in other countries. So we had these absurdities, or let's say anomalies, where you had Slovenian content hosted on a server in Germany and the Slovenian people that were actually accessing it through different autonomous systems to get to this service. And there was the problem of reliability and latency and so on and so on. So let's say, I mean, there was also an issue that is also common probably in Albania, where we had traffic that should be local, that going around to, I don't know, Sofia or Vienna and so on. And this was explained in the first presentation, that this is not a very smart way to do it. But okay, what now? What happened? What changed? I mean, in Slovenia, we had good luck, because there was something called LIX, which was Internet Exchange, and later on also let's say replaced by SIX, which is an Internet Exchange that is managed by an academic and research network. And this was actually the place where everybody peered. And this was, let's say, a good platform for the development of the Slovenian market. And this allowed us to do this. So instead of focusing on what we call, let's say, budget customers, so customers that are not willing to pay a lot or not willing to spend a lot because they don't need the service, we actually introduced in this mix also, let's say, we call them premium customers. This is not the whole segmentation that we're actually doing, but let's say all of the customers are on this spectrum. Why are these premium customers so important, and let's say, why do we focus on them? First of all, let's say they're a demanding type of customer, so they want more for their money. In the sense, they're not happy if there is a 1 hour or let's say 5-minute drop in the service. They're not happy if the latency is high, because they are, let's say, educated. They know that each minute or each hour of downtime costs them money. But on the other hand, they're also ready to spend more, because they have this reference in their head. They know how much 1 hour of downtime costs them, and they're ready to pay this. Of course, they're not easy to work with, because they're, let's say, very susceptible to any deficiency in the service. But in the end, and there are a few of them, but in the end, these customers are more profitable. So let's say with the money, or let's say with the profit that stays with us, we're actually able to invest more in the infrastructure to offer them and also other customers better services. But what is important is also there is a hidden benefit. So when you have a demanding customer like this that actually pushes you forward, you go out of your comfort zone and you are, let's say, forced to develop your services in a good way. You're forced to get new experience, to get let's say, world-class service for them. So with this, you actually get more experience, more competence that you can actually apply to other customers, and you're able to get, let's say, better system administrators, better developers, because you're recognized as someone where people come to work not only for the money, but also for the experience that they will gain with this. So let's say the main message, or the message that I wanted to share with you today here, is that it is important for service providers to focus on, let's say, whatever you call them, but on some kind of premium customers, because they will push you forward, and you will be able to invest in the infrastructure that I think should be partly or mostly also local. And let's say initiatives like Anix and others can actually help you get there faster or better, or in the end also cheaper. So this is more or less it for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for the great commercial for Anix at the very end. Yes, I think we also, all the people that work in the internet exchanges think of themselves as benefiting the whole community. So in that sense, we hope to play our part. We're heading to the last presentation with Susan Forney of Hurricane Electric with Peering 101.
Thank you. Let me share my screen.
Yes, we can hear you. And
there we go.
also we can see your presentation. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Forney from Hurricane Electric, and I'm here to speak at the very first annex with you, wishing, of course, like everyone else, that I was there in person, but hopefully that'll happen in the future. And this is Peering 101 that I'm here to talk about today, which is an introduction of sorts to peering. And my forward is not working. There we go. So first, I wanted to talk to you a bit about Hurricane Electric. Hurricane Electric is a global ISP, and we are present in 271 locations. And we are a participant in 256 internet exchanges, so we know a little bit about them. Hurricane Electric peers with more IPv4 and IPv6 networks than any other ISP. Today, we're peering with 9,005 IPv4 networks and 5,743 IPv6 networks, which actually is a 14% increase over last year. Our network has helped to advance the adoption of IPv6. We got our first IPv6 block in 2001, and we converted our network to native IPv6 in 2007. HE also provides several tools to help advance the understanding of IPv6 and the internet in general. One of those tools is at ipv6.he.net, where you can get information about IPv6 and even get an IPv6 certification. But let's look at another tool, which is Hurricane Electric's bgp.he.net, where you will find the BGP toolkit. And what this does is give you information about other networks or prefixes that you might want to look up on the internet. And all you have to do is put in the network's ASN number in the search box. And if you hit search on that, you're going to get all of the publicly available information about that particular ASN. And if you want information about a prefix, you just type in the prefix into the search box, either a partial IP address or the whole prefix, whatever you want. And it will give you information about that individual prefix's IRR records and its RPKI records, if it has any. We also have information about internet exchanges on bgp.he.net, and here I have the page for Onyx. And you can get the page for any of the 784 exchanges currently that are listed on bgp.he.net if you just go into the exchange report and look for them. So let's look at the fundamentals of peering on an internet exchange. And today we're going to talk about when peering is worth the investment, how to develop a peering strategy, and how to be a good neighbor. So let's start about when peering is worth the investment. While packets over an internet exchange are not metered by the bit, they certainly are not free. Peering is a connection between two network devices, and as we know, network devices are not free. People are needed to maintain and configure internet devices, and people, funnily enough, expect to be paid. And network devices need electric power and space to occupy, and there's somebody out there charging for that too. So your peering port is actually an investment. Now, to determine peering's value to you, you need to know how much your port costs, how much a cross-connect costs at the data center, and how much any monthly recurring charges might be. So what I have done here is create a handy little chart that breaks this down for us. And I've converted it into one column for a mythical ISP, MyISP, and a mythical internet exchange, MyIX. And I have averaged the math up to make things easier for myself. Your actual mileage may vary on costs, but this is here to provide an example. So here we go. So if we look at the first column for the internet exchange, I have gauged a device port, the amount it would cost you per port on your device based on what it costs you for a device at about 200 euros. And then a setup fee at a lot of data centers is around 500 euros, and a setup fee for a service for an ISP is around 250 euros. Now, I'm basing these costs on a 10 gigabit port, and the commit level for 10 gig for an ISP would be about 2 gigs or 2,000 megabits. And the commit price for those megabits that you have to pay every month, whether you pass 1 megabit or 2,000, would be 2,000 euros. And then we're going to put the burst rate for anything that you send across that internet exchange or that internet provider for €1 per megabit. And then we're going to consider our cross connect fee at the exchange for monthly recurring would be €250. Now, the device port cost is exactly the same, whether using it for an ISP or an IX. Of course, your device port cost is still €200. The setup fee for the cross connect is the same because the data center doesn't care who you cross connect to, so it's €500. And the setup fee for the service is usually a little more for an IX, and I put €500 on average for that here. Then, of course, we have no price per bit, so all of those columns are non-applicable, and we get down to the price per port. And at a lot of internet exchanges for 10 gig, that'd be about €500. And then we go to the same cross connect monthly recurring charge of $250. So once you are armed with all of this information, then you can see if getting a port on an internet exchange makes good business sense based on costs. And I'm going to show you a few slides to show you how that works. So if we just look at the information that we had in the blue table, the ISP cost is shown in blue and the IX cost is shown in orange. And it goes from what the cost is at 500 megabits per second on average per month to about 8 gigs. I did put 10 gigs on here, but the slides started to get kind of hard to see, so I cut it down to 8. And as you can see, it's very obvious that the internet exchange is a lot cheaper. While the ISP attenuates to about €1 per megabit, the internet exchange is much less. And so right there on its face, the internet exchange is looking pretty good. However, not even Hurricane Electric can get all of its traffic across the internet exchange, and we peer with over 9,000 networks. So you're going to have an ISP in there. And so for the purposes of more easy math, I have decided that we'll say that 50% of your traffic is on your ISP, and you manage to get 50% of your traffic on internet exchanges. And so if we look at the green line on there, we see an average of those costs. And still, having a port on the internet exchange is looking pretty good. We are still saving money over the ISP. But we have forgotten about one very important thing, and that is that pesky 2 gigabit commit that you agreed to with your internet provider. And so what I have done here on this graph is the dark blue and the light blue are still the ISP, and the dark orange and the light orange are still the IX. But the darker colors reveal the actual cost that you're paying per bit for this traffic, because since you have to get to 2 gigs on that internet service provider, whether or not you pay for it, that makes the cost of that traffic very expensive until you get to 2 gigs. So when you average all of that out, you can see that once we get to 4 gigabits of traffic in this particular example, things start to look pretty much the same as they did on the other graphs. But if you're doing less than that, then you might want to think about it. So these are things to consider while you're deciding whether your port's worth the investment. Of course, it's not all about money. Peering has benefits in terms of reduced latency and improved throughput, and you'll get more diversity at your edge. So that's a good thing. And your network performance will improve, which is going to make much happier internal and external customers. So now that we've looked at how to get the best investment value out of your port, the next thing you need to worry about is developing a peering strategy to decide which networks to target as peers and which exchanges have the most to offer. Now, which networks are available for peering on the exchange is always a good first thing to look at. And then don't forget to peer with content networks like our friends at Facebook that just gave their presentation, because that can save you a lot of money in bits flowing through your internet exchange instead of through your paid ISP. And then armed with information about who's on the exchange and who makes the most sense to peer with, you should investigate some exchanges. Now, on Hurricane's bgp.he.net site, we have a handy list of the 784 active internet exchanges on the internet. And you can source these easily by name. If you go by the, if you click the internet exchange column, you can sort them by name, or by default, they're sorted by members. And then you can also sort them by country or by city to get information about those exchanges. And their websites, if they have them, are also printed there to make it easier for you to find information about them. And every one of them has a page like the one I showed you from Onyx. So a peering strategy helps you look at the big picture. And the following example that I'm going to give you shows why you need to think carefully about your network architecture and traffic patterns. In this drawing, I have a green network that provides services to customers, and some of those customers are behind this blue network. And for the purposes of making their services not better and for their customers, they have produced a satellite site, which is that little green building that connects to the internet that allows them to talk to these customers better. And you can see it has a connection back to the home, mothership, back in AS, the main AS, and then everybody's connected to the internet. And so this is working great. Now, then the green network decides that it's going to connect to an internet exchange. And also the blue network connects to an internet exchange. This is a great idea. They're going to save lots of money, right? Except that the whole reason why they had that satellite office was to improve latency. And when they start advertising all of the satellite offices prefixes through that exchange, now they have increased latency, and they have made things a little bit more miserable for their customers. So the moral of this story is to think very carefully about what you advertise across the exchange so it makes good sense for you. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is why you should be a good neighbor. And peering works when it is a good experience for everybody. The first thing you can do is clean up your advertisements. You should not be leaking your private IP space or routes that don't originate from a public AS to your peers. This does not help them gain confidence in you. It helps if you clean up your advertisements and they know that you're really on top of things. Second, be easy to contact by keeping up-to-date routing and contact information in peeringdb.com, which other speakers also have mentioned, or on your local RIR database. That's fine too. And while we're on the subject of RIRs, keep those IRR records up to date so that your information about your prefixes is accurate and who you should advertise. And then you should investigate creating RPKI ROAS if you haven't for all of your prefixes. About 25% of the internet right now has ROAS for all of its prefixes, and you should join them. Now, while the other network on the peering exchange is probably a fine bunch of people, you really should trust no one. First, set maximum prefix limits for your peers. This is the one thing you can do that's extremely simple and will protect you against a route leak. Next, filter the routes to accept only routes that are valid from your peers' AS and deny private IP space and bogons from them. And then consider adopting RPKI route origin validation so that you too can reject RPKI invalids. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Susan, I don't want to filter all my peers. That is so much work. I can't do it. But you know what? Building BGP filters is pretty easy. And you can script them or use a tool like BGP-Q3. Here, I used BGP-Q3 to create a prefix list for Juniper, for a Juniper router. And what I typed right there is in the black. BGP-Q3 -J for Juniper, 6 for IPv6, and L because I wanted to name my list, and then the AS that I wanted the prefix list for. Hit return. There's my prefix list ready to paste in my router. It doesn't get easier than that. So after everything I've told you, you're thinking like, oh, do I really want to do this? But I want to talk about why you might want to join an internet exchange anyway. Internet exchanges began for a reason in 1993, and they have not gone out of style. Even during a pandemic, 7 new internet exchanges formed in 2020, and 3 new ones have already formed this year. Exchanges are the backbone of the internet, and they allow us to improve it in ways that your transit provider just can't do for you. And communities form from internet exchanges that are valuable, and they provide benefits that aren't available from other sources. This community that you're just starting here is a great place where you're going to be able to develop a community with all of your fellow internet operators inside of your country. And you're going to also meet internet operators from all parts of the world that want to peer here too. So consider that and join your exchange. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And I understand that we have opportunities for questions in the following question and answer period.
Okay, so let me take the screen, and thank you very much, Susan, for this. And so it's already 5 o'clock. We're right on time, but if you guys want to ask questions, we can stay a few minutes more. I see one observation actually in the chat from Livio saying RFC 5398. I don't know, Livio, if you want to explain and maybe make it a question for Susan. Or not. I was pointing to a detail in the slides, but I'm not sure, Susan.
I don't think I mentioned that particular RFC, and unfortunately, I don't have them all memorized.
Okay, the ACE numbers shown.
Oh, the number was not, that's because I didn't want to, I wanted to use a completely bogus number for the ASNs. That was, yeah, that was on purpose. I'm sorry.
Okay, I think that the RFC is for the AS is for documentation use. So I'm not sure if the same applies for presentation use in a closed session, but I guess that that's explained now. So is anyone else wanting to ask questions either to Susan or to any other participant actually, or a speaker? Anyone else? You still have some time. Otherwise, we can close here. I'll just take this opportunity to tell you that this event has been recorded, and so we will publish the recording and the slides in the coming days. So you will be able to see the presentations again if you want. I still want to thank our sponsors again, DHH, FlexOptics, and ISOC. And if you have any questions, just don't hesitate to contact us at join@anix.al. And
if I may,
yeah,
I would like to close as Namex, inviting you to our next Namex annual meeting, NAM 2021. It's planned as a streaming event to go online next 9th of June. You will find all the information in a website, meeting.namex.it, in the following days and weeks from let's say next week up to the event. You'll find information that will be updated frequently. Let me also take this time to thank not only the sponsors, DHH, FlexOptics, and ISOC, but also the presenters that have taken their time to share with us useful and interesting ideas and information in their presentations. Of course, all of my colleagues at Namex who have made the event possible, and to all the attendees that have dedicated their time to listen to the people attending this event. I hope it was time well spent anyway. Remember again to book the meetings. You have until tomorrow night at 10 p.m. So plenty of time. Stay safe and enjoy the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.